today I have a stack of books to talk about, and these are my all-time favorite books. They are definitely 5-star reads, and I can't wait to talk about them. Before we get started, welcome to this House of Walls. My name is Ashley, and on this channel I love to share all things homeschooling and books. Today is books. So like I said, I do have a stack. I'm saying it's 10 books. 2 of those, there's another one with it because it's part of a series. But there's not any kind of epic, huge fantasy book that is reserved for up there on that top shelf and some here and bottom shelf there. These are books that I just picked up and read and absolutely fell in love with. And so I can't wait to talk about them. They're not like extremely new books, but I have read all of them in the past 3 years since I really started reading again. So I'm going to take another sip of my coffee and let's talk about them. The first book is Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. This was my all-time favorite book that I read last year, and it was kind of everything that I want in a book. It has some fantasy elements, it has quirky but lovable characters, it has amazing kind of growth development. So this one, you are following Wallace as he wakes up at his funeral and realizes that he's dead. A Reaper comes to take him, but not quite to the other side yet. He actually ends up at a quirky tea shop. The tea shop owner, Hugo, is helping Wallace to eventually cross over. There are a bunch of quirky characters. There are some definite serious notes dealing with life and death, but overall this is just a wonderful, cozy book. My next to talk about is one of those where, yes, I have 10 books, but I am counting these as one because they are both very short, and that is A Psalm for the Wild-Built and A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers. So like I said, both of these are really short, but packed with some amazing cozy vibes and great philosophical things to think about. So this, you are following Dex, who is a tea monk and travels around to different towns. Civilization as we know it has changed a whole lot, and that all started when robots that civilization was using for consumerism actually kind of came to and realized that they didn't want to do that anymore, and so got up and walked out of civilization into the wilderness. And with that, humans decided that they were going to stop that kind of behavior as well. So Dex, you are following, they are kind of lost in a loop of constantly going to the same places, constantly setting up their tea shop. So they decide to go off into the wilderness and see what is there. And there they find Moscap, who is actually coming to civilization to see if civilization needs anything from it. The characters in this are lovely and friendly and sweet, and I think that as a civilization we can learn a lot from these 2 books. Alright, my next 2 books I am counting as one because they are, again, part of a series. It's not a massive series, but it is a 4-book series. I am not including 2 of the books. They were 4-star reads for me. They are part of the Practical Magic series, Practical Magic being the one on my shelf. So these 2 books actually take place before Practical Magic, which was the first book that this author wrote, and then she went back and wrote the other books in the series. And I think with doing that, the characters were able to be developed a little bit more, and I loved these first 2 books. So the first one is Magic Lessons. This takes place in the 1600s, following Maria Owens. So this, you are following her from the time when she is abandoned as a baby and found and brought up by Hannah Owens, and they have some magic abilities to them. Now obviously this is the 1600s. Not a time that you want to be a witch in England. Maria Owens does fall in love and follows that love across the ocean to Salem, Massachusetts. Again, not a time that you want to be a witch in Salem, Massachusetts. When her heart gets broken, she actually casts a spell that will haunt future generations of her family. The next book in the series is The Rules of Magic. So this is 300 years later in the 1960s. This, you are following descendants of the original Maria Owens, and these are siblings, Franny, Jet, and Vincent. This follows them kind of from childhood through kind of more adulthood / kind of teenage years, as they are dealing still with the repercussions of the curse that Maria Owens put on the family. This one definitely pulls at your heartstrings as you get to know these three characters and you just are rooting for them the whole time. My next was actually my favorite book, I think in 2022. I read it like in January of that year, and that was it. It was my favorite book of the year. And that is Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This, you are following Achilles and Patroclus as they are children growing up together and learning to fight, falling in love, all those wonderful things, and then the lead up to Troy and everything that happens at Troy. This one, it was so beautifully written. I definitely want to pick this one up and reread it pretty soon. I feel like it's been a couple of years now, so it would be fun to reread this. That's kind of my stack of fantasy along with fantasy retelling kind of thing. My next little stack of 5-star books are coming of age stories. So my next book is I Must Betray You by Ruta Sepetys. This takes place in 1989 in Romania, as it is coming to the fall of communism. You are following a 17-year-old Christian as he wants to be a writer in a country that will not allow him to be a writer. There is betrayal and not knowing who to trust, and what do you do as a 17-year-old in a communist country that is starting to crumble? Do you join the revolutionary side, or do you just keep to yourself and hope for the best? I thought that this was a really fantastic book. I was alive when this happened, but only like a year old, and definitely never learned about it. So I love that this can take a actual historical event and give you actual people that you can root for in all of this, with still having that historical element. I love when there's actual pictures in the back to kind of tie in this fictional story and be like, nope, but this stuff actually happened. I have not read any more by this author, but I definitely want to. My next is Mary Jane by Jessica Anya Blah. So this is another coming of age. It takes place in the 1970s, following 14-year-old Mary Jane. This is definitely a coming of age. She has lived a very kind of sheltered life. She sings in the church choir and makes dinner with her mom every night until she gets a job for a neighbor who is a psychiatrist, and she is going to be a nanny for the psychiatrist's young daughter. But during all of this, the psychiatrist, who he and his wife are very 1970s, definitely are not making dinner every night. They actually have a rock star living in the house as he is seeking mental health care. This one was a lot of fun to listen to. It definitely has a lot of music in the audio portion. Being able to see the growth in not just our main character, but surrounding characters, it was fantastic. The next is The People We Keep by Allison Larkin, another coming of age story. This one takes place in 1994, where you are following April as she is 17 years old. She has dropped out of school. She's working at a diner, living in a motorless RV that her father won in a poker game, but she wants to play music. So she borrows a neighbor's car and ends up in Ithaca and finds some amazing friends along the way, and especially at a coffee shop there, where she is able to continue writing her music, but also have some found family vibes as she is learning to be able to trust other people and that not everyone will go against her, kind of like her dad. All right, we are down to the last 3. These are much more adult. The next 2 in the stack are more suspenseful, while the last one is a little bit more cozy found family. My next is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. This was my first Lisa Jewell book to read, and it did not disappoint. I finished this like over the new year of this year, and I cannot recommend the audio enough. It has a full cast audio and like background noise, everything like that. It was so good. So this one, you are following Josie and Alex as they are both turning 45 and end up kind of at the same restaurant for their birthday. Alex has a podcast. She's kind of floundering where to take it in the next step, and doesn't really want to continue with how it is going so far. And Josie, she's kind of an odd character. She is married to a man who is very much so older than her. She wears denim all the time, multiple articles of denim, and she tells Alex that she would like to leave her husband and start again. So Alex takes her on for the podcast to just kind of learn more. This one is full of unreliable characters, and even towards the end, you're not quite sure who is still a reliable character or not. It was definitely a fantastic read. Never did I think that I would read or love and want to talk about a book about Bigfoot, but here we are. This is Devolution by Max Brooks. So this is a first-hand account of the Rainier Sasquatch Massacre. You are following a neighborhood that is built to be very green, and the residents in that neighborhood, they're all kind of, not all of them are lovable characters. So this, you are following mostly our main character, Kate, who she has not been in the best mental health aspect of her life, and she is starting a video diary. But during all of that, Mount Rainier explodes, and this neighborhood is cut off from civilization. Things start to happen as maybe something is scared out of the wilderness and comes across this neighborhood. The really cool thing about this is that it is written almost like a nonfiction. Like, you're wondering, wow, I can't believe that this happened. It's done so amazingly well. And even kind of like published findings of what was found after. Definitely will kind of keep you on your toes as you are trying to puzzle together what is happening in this neighborhood. My very last book to talk about, I thought we would end on a nice cozy note, and that is for Iona Iverson's Rules for Commuting by Claire Pooley. This one, I loved it. Again, you have a pretty big cast of characters that all have faults, but at the end, they are all lovable and you get to understand them and why they act the way that they do. But this, you are following Iona Iverson as she commutes daily to her job as a magazine columnist. She is older and having some problems at work with a new boss who is much younger than she is. She gets to know her fellow commuters, not personally at first. She observes them and comes up with funny little names for them depending on things about them. Again, there are some characters that are more lovable than others, But getting to kind of dive deeper into Iona and other people on this train is just absolutely fantastic. I don't know if I can pick these up, but let's see. There we are. There are all of the books. It was fun going through my shelves and picking out some favorites that are definitely going to be staying on my shelves for a long time. On that note, if you like this video or anything else that I post here on this channel, please make sure to like and subscribe down below, and I will be back for more soon.